Matt, eureka moment. I just figured out why Joe's really good at what he does. He spent the first half of his life in team sports. On your typical football team, you may have 60, 70 individuals, and you have to coalesce all those people. And frankly, doing it in the corporate environment with air conditioning and heating and a tie and starched shirt is probably a whole lot easier than doing it at 100 degrees while 300-pound bodies are slamming against you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan alongside my partner, the Professor Luigi Rosabianca. What's on tap today, Lou?
Matt, today we have live from Lake Tahoe, we have Joe Terry. Now, you got to wait for this guy's resume. Joe Terry is let's start with the fun stuff. He's an Ironman finisher, 16X, okay? He's an author, just wrote Surrender to Lead, highly recommended. Former NFL linebacker with the Seattle Seahawks, and also the CEO of Culture Partners. Joe, Mr. Terry, thank you for honoring us with your presence.
Right on. Thank you, Luigi and Matthew. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Excited.
Joe, are you kidding me?
Your audience today.
So, Joe, we love the hero's journey, but more on that later. Right now, let's reverse engineer. So, what does Culture Partners do, and how do businesses benefit?
Yeah. So, from the highest level, we create clarity, alignment, and accountability in the three most important critical aspects of your business: your purpose, your strategy, and your culture. And we create clarity, alignment, and accountability around those three parts of your business to drive business results. It's all about driving business results. So clarity, alignment, and accountability around your purpose, your strategy. We activate it with your culture to drive results.
That sounds amazing, but I'm not smart enough to figure out how that can be applied. Can you give us a few examples on the sort of corporate problem that would trigger the CEO or the C-suite to reach out to Culture Partners to gain that clarity, please?
Yeah. It's usually around 3 or 4 areas. Almost inevitably, it's around top line performance,
revenue,
right? Profitability, employee satisfaction, engagement somehow. How do we get our teams aligned? And client satisfaction. So it's usually around those 4 components that a client needs to address one or all of those, or needs to shift their business to drive more of it, less of it, whatever that business aspect is. But it's usually around those 4 points in business.
It's managing people.
Yeah, and people drive that, all parts of that, of those performances. So if you think about it, like even today, like AI is the big thing, like AI, right? And people are like, oh, people are going to lose their jobs. Well, there's an article that just came out and said 95% of AI projects are not delivering the results that they were supposed to, right? So think about that. That's a big issue. And the issue is, Luigi, you said it, it's people. It's how do you get the people aligned around that initiative so that you can optimize the results. And so whatever it is, technology, revenue, AI, this, or whatever you're looking to achieve, the people are still the most important aspect of driving that.
Matt, eureka moment. I just figured out why Joe's really good at what he does. He spent the first half of his life in team sports. On your typical football team, you may have 60, 70 individuals, And you have to coalesce all those people. And frankly, doing it in the corporate environment with air conditioning and heating and a tie and starched shirt is probably a whole lot easier than doing it at 100 degrees while 300-pound bodies are slamming against you.
Yeah, and Luigi, think about that. That, you know, all these players are coming from different backgrounds, different economic status. Um,
Different
you know,
motivations.
yeah, it's all different, and getting that aligned around, and they're all playing an individual position and trying to align that around the good of the team and the purpose, right? So you have to be aligned around that purpose.
And today you're trying to align that with people that aren't even in the same city.
No, not even in the same building now, right? And they're at home doing their thing sometimes, they're in the office sometimes, different countries. It's all over the place.
Man, if you could pull that off, your team needs a raise.
Thank you for that. Yeah. We're the best kept secret so far.
So, you know, I know the audience is thinking, what are some things that you guys do? What are some mind shift, some ways to shift your employees' mind so they have that team mentality and they're not just there to collect a paycheck and leave, right? So you can get rid of the quiet quitting people and have the
Yeah.
team actually take initiative and be excited about their work environment.
Yeah. Matthew, and that's a great question, because you know, here's what happens inevitably. We get in a room with the CEO and his or her team. That's where we start this off. And 99.9% of the time, the CEO says, my team's totally aligned on what we're trying to achieve. And we're saying, okay. And we go around the room and say, tell us the top 3 initiatives, the top 3 objectives that your company's trying to achieve. And you go around the room and everyone has a different answer. And this is, think about this, for example, this is the top echelon of the CEO's team right here, right? And they're not, they can't even articulate the top 3 objectives of what the company is trying to achieve. So it starts right there at the top. And we always tell the teams, like, if you guys aren't aligned, what are you doing with the 50,000 employees all across the world? Just think of the power you're losing by those 50,000 not understanding why your company exists, what's the strategy for execution, and how we're going to get there, right? And if they don't even understand that, how can you expect to optimize the performance of those people and that team? So it starts right there with getting that team ironclad aligned with the purpose, the strategy, and the way we're going to operate as a company to achieve the results we're looking to achieve. And in the absence of that, boy, you've got, you know, a team of 10, a team of 100, a team of 10,000, all going different directions.
So I know one company that, for instance, when they come in every single day, they have their whole teams, everybody in the company actually repeat the core values, right? And repeat the mission of the company. Is that something that you guys try to instill in the teams that you work with?
Yeah, and Matthew, you said something critical, that people don't understand the power of what you just said. They repeat it every day. There's a piece in our book that we talk about leaders need to be the chief repetition officer, right? When what do you think football teams, the NFL's doing right now while we're talking right here? They are going through film, they're going on the field, they're drilling the same plays over and over and over in nauseum, until everybody knows what's going on. And that little shift that you're talking about, I don't know if it's a friend of yours or a colleague or whatever, just you're going to gain so much alignment just from that one act of getting the team before we start and say, hey, why are we here? What is our value and what are we trying to achieve? So we have a process in our tools and our methodology that goes through that before that's what you start an email with, finish an email with, start a team meeting with, finish a team meeting. Any sort of meeting, you're starting with a set methodology to get everybody aligned on why they're there today. Now, do you get everybody every time? No, but think about the value. You're going to get most people most of the time, some people more, some people less. But think about if you're not doing that compared to when you are doing that.
Oh, it's gonna.
And people want to feel a connection to these employees are coming to work every day saying, I want to connect to the work I'm doing, whether it's at home or in the manufacturing plant or in the office or out in, the fields. They want to feel a connection.
So it's kind of like marketing. They say people don't buy something until they see it 7 to 12 times, right? So you got to keep repeating it, and then it winds up compounding, right? And the next thing you know, it's second nature, and the whole company is working towards either that mission or knows what the core values of the company is.
Yeah, and as an example, I won't say the name of the company. It's a very, very large agricultural company that builds and sells agricultural equipment, and thousands of employees all over. And I was talking to the CEO, and we were talking about what's working and what's not. And I said, you have to repeat this almost like you're like a third grade teacher, and it seems unreasonable that you should have to repeat this, like to a point to where you're uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable, you need to repeat it 3 more times. Seriously, it's like, and I still do it with my team. Our team knows this thing. We know it better than anybody, but we still repeat it because it has to be, Matthew, I don't know how old you are, but, I'm old enough to know that I went to driving school in high school, right? The driver's ed, and they were telling you to do all these things. And now as adults, you're doing it so much, it just becomes second nature. This stuff has to become second nature.
Matt, I think Joe just taught us something, because I know Matt and I always complain that we have to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. But maybe that's a good thing, right, Joe?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And keep repeating it. Yeah.
All right. So theoretically, this is all fine and dandy. But if you can't measure something, you can't improve it. How do we tie the employee experience to customer outcomes and growth using internal metrics? It can't just be revenue, right? Or it can't just be, what do you do? An employee survey? Like, how do you measure culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a very difficult one to measure. And so I liken it to think about autopilot on an airplane.
Okay.
So you're going from San Francisco to New York, right? The pilot puts in all the coordinates, right? And altitude, speed, distance, all of those things, and they go. But along that journey, there's different things happening along the way. There's weather, there's traffic. And if that autopilot wasn't making these small adjustments along the way, that plane ends up in Toronto, Canada, potentially, right? And it's the same with a company and culture. So culture is defined this way. It's how people think and act. So it's our beliefs and our actions that drive what we do every day and how we generate results. And so you have to be measuring that along that journey. It's all about the result that you're trying to achieve, right? And so we're working with the clients quarterly, measuring, are they are are they getting to the result that they're looking to achieve on that journey? The result is the measuring stick. And if they aren't, what's happening in their culture that's not enabling them to make the shifts that they need to make in order to get to the result, right? And so we're measuring that on a quarterly basis. We're making little adjustments along the way. But at the end of the day, and we were talking about this before we went live, it's all about that result. It's all about achieving the result. And so you need to make sure that people's actions and their beliefs are aligned to that result. Now we have different mechanisms to measure that along the way that I won't get into functionally, but that's what we're doing. We're like the autopilot on the airplane, making these small shifts, because what you don't want to do is get to Toronto, Canada and go, oh crap, we got to make a hard right with the company to get ourselves back to New York. That never works, right? So it's those small adjustments along that journey that help you keep your company with clarity, alignment, and accountability driving towards the result.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your above the line thinking framework?
Oh, nice. Is it Matt or Matthew?
Either one. Matt's fine. Like? Matt's fine.
Okay. All right, Matt.
He's been called worst.
Yeah. So if you think about the simplistic processes, above the line thinking and below the line thinking, and in our accountability work, we want people what we call above the line. And above the line means you're taking accountability, responsibility, and action towards those things that you can control. Right? So what are in the situation I'm in, right? I'm going to take accountability for those things I can control. Below the line thinking is, hey, I'm complaining, I'm pointing fingers, I'm saying that's not my issue, it's somebody else's issue. They need to take care of it. Gosh, if they just did X, Y, and Z, I would be able to do what I need to do. There's no value in that. There's absolutely no value in going there. It doesn't help you, and it doesn't help what you're looking to achieve. So let me give you an example in Ironman, because you guys talked about Ironman, and this is the reason I do Ironman. I've done the World Championships in Hawaii.
An industry with mostly women.
And it is
I have a few stories. I'm not going to get into it, but trust me.
And one of the most brutal places on
13,
that course,
a couple of makeout sessions in the back. That's people coming 13, back. But aside from that,
last 35.
The reason I got into the hair industry was to be around women. I want to be around beautiful.
Right into the wind,
Nasty.
And it's the hottest point of the day, and it's this long. If you ever been to Kona, it's this long Queen K, and you can see for miles, and it's like it gets in your head, like how long and how hard and how hot this is. So you're in the middle of this race and the wind's blowing at you. It is so hard. You want to quit, but you can't control the wind. You can't control the heat. All you can control is your own actions. And we've all heard it, right? all you can control is how you respond to this. That's the only thing you can control. And it really teaches you, above the line thinking teaches you how to control the controllables, those things which are mainly your actions and how you create experiences for people around you. So that's the above the line, Matt. That's the above the line thing and below the line thinking. So you'll go through a lot of our clients and they're working with each other and they're on the manufacturing line and somebody's frustrated and they're like, hey man, let's get back above the line. Let's work together on what we can do. And that's what helps shift people's thinking from below the line to above the line.
You know, somebody once told me that everybody has a thermostat within them. Some people run at a cool 78 degrees. That's where they are. That's good for them. Yeah. Other people, you know, and employees, we'll see somebody that's usually running at 78, they start to run at 64, and we got to dial them back up. But now we have other people inside our company, they're running at 100 the whole time, and we know what's going to happen when they're running at 100 the whole time. What is that? How do you dial it back without having to tell them to dial it back? Meaning when your top producers are trying to go so fast, they're eventually going to burn out and break, right?
Yeah.
So how do you fix that issue?
Yeah, that's a great question, because that's an issue, especially with top performers, that you see quite a bit. And something I was just dealing with last night with one of our top performers, because they run hot, really hot, right? And so we have a methodology called focus feedback. And it's really important. I've given and received more feedback in the 5 years I've been in this role with this company than I had in my whole career. And it's made me a better person and a better leader. I've got frontline employees willing to give me feedback. And it's that methodology in what we do. And it's called focus feedback. And it's, you give appreciative feedback. Hey, here's where you're doing things really, really well. And constructively, here's where you can even be better. Not here's where you're effing up or screwing everything up or pissing everybody off, but here's where you could do better, right? And those top performers are running hot, you know, and I just gave this last night, and I was talking to the person, and I was pulling them off the edge. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, let me give you some feedback on this. The way you're doing working with so-and-so is fantastic. That said, you can even do better here, because if you continue down this path, here's where it's going to impact you. And I don't want that to happen. And boy, it pulled them right out. And they're like, yep, you're right, Joe. Now, Matt, back to the chief repetition officer. This is about the 5th time I've had this conversation with that top performer. But they are moving slowly, but they're moving. They're moving. But it's a good way to shift that mindset from below the line to above the line, is with that focus feedback.
But you
feedback
tend to mind,
so powerful.
But you tend to mind less telling that top performer 5 times because he's your top performer. The problem is when you have a low performer and you have to tell that person 5 times.
Yeah, and you know, this is the other thing where I'm going to say is it the inconvenient truth? What's that saying? Is that true? Is that what it's called? Yeah, I don't know if it's the hard truth or the inconvenient truth.
It's a tough topic in this family. Matt thinks I'm too honest.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, everybody's not created equal. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's created equal. You treat people differently based on where they are, right? And I always say this,
like you're getting 1 or 2 big hits a month on like 2 big videos, but the rest you're just
when you're running a business, you're not a family.
You're not what you used to be, so we're not going to suggest you to viewers anymore.
You are
That's why
trying
my
to produce results.
What it told me to do was like go back to some of your old school stuff
on your team like they're a family, but you are not a family. We're all here conditionally to produce a result, and we're being paid for that. Right, wrong, or otherwise, whether you like that or not. So when I hear people say, "Oh, our business is like a family," no, it's like a professional sports organization. You're paying people to help you achieve a result. And some people get paid more and some people get paid less. And some people have this role and some people have that role. So the inconvenient truth is you're giving more leeway. Yes, Luigi, you're giving more leeway sometimes to those people that are at the front of the arrow on the front lines that are paid to produce results. And in this case, it was one of my revenue generators that is a top performer, right? And so you give a little bit more leeway on that.
Joe, I got to tell you this funny story. So I was a big soccer player and big soccer fan growing up as a kid. Now I'm, you're an adult, you have a family, and you can't really follow that stuff. But there was this really funny quote. There was this probably one of the best players in the world in the 90s. His name was Roberto Baggio. And the coach where he played was very, very disciplined. Like you had to come to the game in a suit. There was no nonsense. And one day the coach comes in and there's a dog in the locker room. And he starts flipping out. He's throwing shit. He goes, "Whose dog is this? Get this mangy mutt out of here." And he's like, Coach, it's Robbie Baggio's dog. And he goes, "So get him a treat." That's the reality.
Yeah, I mean, you talk to Bill Belichick, he'll tell you the same thing. He treated some a little different than others, right? And when you're in a performance environment, your job is to maximize the performance of the individual and the people and to put them in a position to win. And that ebbs and flows based on the person.
Absolutely. So if you could give us one takeaway that you were able to take from your sports career, your Ironmans, and put it into one word, one sentence, right, that's helped you in business today, what would it be?
Consistency. Everybody cheers at the beginning and cheers at the end. There's a whole lot of shit going on in the middle that you have to wake up every day and get after it every single day. Ups, downs. And if you can do that every single day, you're going to win. We have all these stories, right? Everybody says, well, Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and name them, right? And it's like, oh, but there's 99.9999% of the other people that are wild, that can be wildly successful. And if you just go after it every single day, you will outpace 99% of the people. It's that consistency that wins all day long.
Absolutely. Joe, thank you so much for being here. We want to be respectful of your time. Can you tell the audience where they can find you and Culture Partners?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn at Joe Terry on LinkedIn. And feel free to connect. I love to connect with people and help in any way I can. And you can find Culture Partners at culturepartners.com. culturepartners.com.
Awesome. Joe, thanks so much for being here. Everybody, that's a wrap. The Liquid Lunch Project. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Let's go!